Hey guys, my name is Massimo, and today I want to take a look at the new Railgun battle pickup that's being added into Battlefield 4. You did it, DICE. You finally did it. You created a battle pickup that is actually worth using. No longer are we going to have to rely on the useless MGL or the USAS frag round piss in the wind piece of crap. We have something that people are going to fight over. Like when the Final Stand DLC goes live, I can clearly see this being a side objective that people are going to gravitate on towards. Because if you know how to use this correctly, not only can you destroy infantry units, but it is one of the best ways and most satisfying ways at taking out helicopters. It is an incredible new addition into the game. And so at its core, it is essentially a souped up bolt-action rifle with a couple of twists. It has a very high magnification, much like all of the other recon weapons in the game, but the twist on it is that when you pull the trigger or you try to fire the weapon, it doesn't immediately fling out the projectile like every other gun in the game. It takes a couple of seconds for it to charge up. And I think the reason why DICE added this mechanic into the game is that they wanted the player to think a little bit more. If you see an enemy constantly jumping in and out of cover, probably not the best target for you, unless you have Divine Intervention and you can predict his movement. If you see an enemy trying to traverse over a frozen lake, easy pickings at this point. And what I love about this mechanic is that it allows for some really cool interplay. Like if you're on the receiving end of the railgun, it's not game over. Like you can outsmart or outplay your enemy. Because it has that delay and has to charge up, as long as you are constantly jumping in and out of cover, taking some pot shots at him, you can win that firefight. Like, it is going to be very difficult for him to secure that one-shot kill on you. He may get some splash damage. It does have some pretty awesome splash damage to you, but it's going to be challenging for him to come out of that firefight alive as long as you know what you are doing. I should mention, if it's not already abundantly clear, that this will one-shot infantry. I was noticing that at extreme distances, though, that I was getting a few hit markers more than I was expecting, and I wasn't sure if that was because of the railgun, some sort of mechanic that I just don't understand, or if it was just simply because I'm awful and my accuracy is terrible when I was going for those shots. I want to go more towards the latter, because what I've seen from videos, and every so often, I would get a one-shot at those extreme distances, and so in general, as long as you are able to line up the shot, you should be able to take out infantry with no problem at all. Another twist or weakness that you're going to have to work around is that it has a crazy long reload time. I don't think it's as long as the light machine guns animation, but it's right up there with that. And the implications of this is, of course, that if you miss one shot on an enemy, as long as he knows what's up, he knows the sound of the railgun, he realized that a nuke just went off next to him, he's gonna make himself scarce. He's gonna duck behind cover, and as long as he wasn't out in the open for a day and a half, it's gonna be difficult for you to take out at least that individual with your next round. And what I love about this mechanic is that once again, it allows for some great interplay between everyone that's involved. If the person missed their shot, this gives you a couple options. First, you can just duck for cover, you can make yourself scarce and just avoid the confrontation. You're gonna live, you're not gonna have to worry about it anymore, and you can go about your day. But if you want to confront that person, you know that he just missed his shot, this is gonna give you like 4 or 5 seconds to try to close the gap on him or run for cover and get a little bit closer. The railgun has a very high magnification scope on it, and while it makes it amazing for taking people out at a distance, as soon as the enemy gets smart and starts to close the gap on you, it becomes more and more challenging the closer and closer that they get. And so if you notice that you are getting fired upon by the railgun, wait for him to miss that first shot and then close the gap. It gives you 4 or 5 seconds. You can run out in the open. You're not going to get taken out because of that crazy long reload animation. And eventually it'll get to the point where the tables turn into your favor. You're now using an assault rifle within 20 to 30 meters. He has this crazy high magnification scope, and you're more likely to come out of that confrontation victorious. This is the reason why I love the way that DICE has implemented the battle pickup, because while yes, it is amazing, yes, it has a crazy amount of killing potential, as long as you understand its weaknesses and can exploit those weaknesses, you should have no problem working around someone who was using this against you. That is just simply good game design. Like, I have to give a tip of my hat to DICE, because in general, at least the way that they've implemented it into the CTE server, it feels satisfying to use, it is incredibly powerful, but at the same time, it's not blatantly overpowered because of of these key weaknesses. But easily the best aspect of this weapon, or what I find to be the most satisfying use for this gun, is that it is phenomenal at taking out helicopters. There are a couple of ways that you can deal with these pesky air vehicles. The first and most obvious is, of course, that you can just shoot directly at it. It doesn't do a lot of damage. I was noticing that on transport helicopters, it was doing a consistent 20 per round, but the real secret of it, and where this thing becomes devastating, is that every time you do land a shot on a helicopter, you are going to 100% get a mobility hit. If you use this knowledge to your advantage, while you may not be able to secure the kill yourself, you may not be able to see all of those numbers pop on your screen, you can take out helicopters out of the sky with one round. So if I notice a transport helicopter flying low, or I notice that a attack helicopter was about to dive bomb on some tanks or some infantry, that was the best time to do it. A good helicopter pilot, if they know what they're doing, is going to pull out of a dive if they know a Stinger missile is on the way. Because once that Stinger missile eventually hits their helicopter, the mobility hit, as long as they're still diving towards the ground, is going to cause them to crash into the said ground only a couple of seconds later. Happens all the time for newbie pilots in Battlefield 4. But because the railgun doesn't notify the enemy that they're about to get hit by this projectile, as soon as they go for that dive, it almost secures the kill and they don't even realize that they're about to get taken out. Sure, I only do 20 damage, sure I don't get the actual kill in my notification, but I just took out an attack helicopter with one round of this power weapon. It's a little bit ridiculous. The other way that you can go about killing these helicopters, and I find this to be the most satisfying, is that you can just simply kill the pilot in the cockpit. I mentioned before that it has some nice splash damage, and this splash damage is going to play a large role because all you really have to do with this weapon is aim in the general area of the cockpit, and the splash damage is pretty much going to do all of the work for you. I cannot tell you how many times I just lined it up, fired the weapon. It does take a little patience, does take a little skill because you need to maintain the lock, you need to maintain your accuracy because the weapon does need to charge up. But once you fire it, gonna get the kill, and then seeing everyone jump out or bail out of a transport helicopter at the last second because they realize the pilot died a second later is really gratifying. You can repeatedly just fire at the enemy helicopters and slowly whittle it down, doing 20 damage per shot, but because it has a very long reload time, if the enemy pilot is going to be out in the open for an extended period of time, allowing you to do multiple shots back to back, they basically deserve to die at that point. A good helicopter pilot is not going to give you that opportunity, and so like I said, best way to handle it is just to shoot out the pilot directly or wait for them to fly low or dive bomb on some of your teammates and then allow the mobility hit to finish them off. But overall, I am really happy with the way that DICE has gone about adding in the railgun system. It fits perfectly with the way that they've described battle pickups in the past. I remember reading an article when they were promoting Battlefield 4 that these were going to be something that people were going to fight over, they were going to be side objectives, and that is clearly going to happen when the Final Stand DLC goes live. It has a lot of killing potential, it is a very menacing weapon to go toe-to-toe with, but at the same time, as long as you understand its weaknesses, you can overcome this weapon. But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's introduction of the railgun. Let me know what you think of this weapon. Do you like the way that they've added it into the game? Do you think that they pushed things a little bit too far? I think my one critique is that the mobility hit might be a little bit too good for this weapon, considering that it doesn't notify the pilots that it's on the way. That might be something that I would like them to change in the future, but let me know your guys' thoughts down below. But yeah, until tomorrow, have a good one and take it easy.